Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Slice of Life with Kellie and Jon. And today we have a very special guest, Wendy Cohen, who is the founder and CEO of Powerhouse Companies. And she does a lot. She does, most of it is in the real estate industry. Is that what it is, Wendy?
That's
Um,
correct.
and so, can you tell us a little bit about what you do for that industry, in that
Sh-
industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very sweet of you to call me a special person. I consider the two of you special, and I want to thank you for
Wait.
honoring me by letting me kind of
Thank
share my
you. You're very
message.
welcome and thank you.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
excited because I've looked on your website and it looks like you've just accomplished so much in your lifetime of, working in the real estate industry and done some pretty big things,
Yeah,
right?
it's funny that you say that. Thank you very much. I was talking to my daughter who is an adult, my 34
Oh,
year old
wow.
daughter this morning, and I said to her, she actually has my first grandchild. So I said to
Oh,
her, Sarah, that important. I'm not that special. What is it that I could share? And she said, Mom, she said, you've done a lot in your life. What would you tell your younger self? And so she started giving me all this guide. She obviously is also a professional in the world. So very cute. It's very interesting. We do a lot of things in our lifetime and you reflect back. We've all gone through stages, and my growth has, just like everyone else in the world, your ups and downs. And I hope I can share some of my insights with your audience. And after this is over, if I can help anyone, I certainly
oh.
am always here to do that.
Great.
So, yeah, thank you. So I started my career, and I'll give you I say this and people don't, a lot of people laugh because they don't know what this means. I'm giving you the Evelyn Woods presentation.
Oh.
They were like, oh, you're
I
dating
don't think a
yourself.
lot of people these days remember who Evelyn Wood was. She was famous back in the 60s and 70s, the Evelyn Wood speed reading course.
Right,
Uh,
exactly. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
say that a lot because our attention span these days is so. But in a high level, after I graduated college, and I'm a Detroit girl, but moved to Southern California, so I'm a Valley girl too.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a hot pink skateboard when I was like
Ah.
12. Used to take the RTC to the beach. But meanwhile, I graduated college from Michigan, and I went to Chicago, first time all by myself. And I fell in love with the luxury design build industry after getting married at a young age with my husband. We built a custom home in the suburbs of Chicagoland. And I said, oh my gosh, my career, obviously, I went to school for business and I was in hospitality, a hotel restaurant management. I got to change careers. So 5 years after I graduated and worked in that first industry, I got my broker's license and I sold only new construction. And within a year, one of my builders, a small spec home builder, said, oh my God, you got to be my vice president. So at 28 years old, I was so lucky to be in a situation to take a company with the owner of that company from, I don't know, I think we had about a dozen people to 120 within
Oh my
18
gosh.
years.
Wow.
Yeah, real big growth trajectory was awesome. And we were not just a spec home builder. We were a luxury custom home builder, a developer. I mean, obviously, over the years, we grew into that and we had 7 integrated profit centers. So it was a beautiful experience growing a company like that. And so in 2006, I said, okay, I'm on for my next adventure. I'm still pretty young and my 3 kids are now a little more established. I will open up the powerhouse companies and start giving back. Because boy, was I fortunate. We had the recessions and things that happened, but I learned a lot. I feel like I had a PhD in luxury real estate and architecture and interior design and landscape architecture. So I opened up powerhouse companies. At first, I did mostly consulting for the business side, and then those companies were growing. I turned into being their headhunter, their recruiter, and help them onboard all their people and grow. So knowing that my whole purpose of having the powerhouse companies is helping people grow, I said, I can do that faster and more efficiently and more impactfully for the human beings out there, both the owners and the employees, by just doing recruiting. So today, the Powerhouse recruiting shingle is what I focus on. If someone comes to me and says, I know you used to do consulting, you worked for so and so, can you help me? I refer them to great people, expecting nothing in return. I only want to help them grow. At the same time, in 2006, I started a kind of, I would call it more of a pro bono side of my life called Powerhouse Smart, which was a networking education community in that same industry, bringing together the best of the best leaders and helping us connect, learn, and grow together. And I've been doing that for the same 18 years. And that morphed into luxury conferences across the United States. And we're doing our first travel Africa retreat in 2025 with a nonprofit. And so we do luxury conferences in Chicago, Minnesota, Naples, Florida. We do flagship events here in Southern California, where I live most of my time. And we're going to be doing something with West Edge Design Fair. So again, it all goes back to every day I wake up and I love what I do. If I could help other people wake up and love their job so that it doesn't feel like they're going to work and just feel that same joy, then that's fabulous. And then on top of it, I'm at that point in my life where I'm a little bit of like a free bird, where I get to also spend time on spiritual growth, which I've always been interested in since my dad died when I was 15. So I always had that. I know there's got to be something more than this. What is the purpose in life? And now I'm back on that growth and I'm weaving that into everything else. That's a lot.
Wow.
So I'll be
Yeah.
quiet.
It is. It is. So when you're focusing now on recruiting, you're matching people, employees with employers. What kind of, is it commercial construction?
It's
Workers?
mostly residential, although it's very transferable. But typically, my typical recruiting is project architect, senior interior designer, creative director, even project coordinator, vice president of sales and marketing, HR director. So it's anybody who's in that luxury arena. And the reason why Powerhouse Smart and Powerhouse Recruiting and the conferences and event, they all cruise, is because if we all learn to come together as collaborators, then everyone wins. And so it's all about building relationships. And that's how I can help other people grow is, I'll be talking to someone who's one of my speakers, a dynamic woman who is so loved. And she's now she has an opening in her career for a new thing. I said, oh my God, I'm calling 3 publications right now. And I'm going to, make sure that and I don't even want a recruiting fee. I just want to help you. And it's such an honor to be able to do that.
Wow. That's exciting. I had a brief stint as a commercial construction recruiter.
Wow.
For about a year, I did that. And do you focus on one particular area, geographic area, or you just do all over the United States or the world?
do all over the United States because it's niche and commercial's bigger. Obviously, you're the Walshes and the Powers and all the big companies. Whereas, architectural design firms could have 2 people that are in luxury residential. Of course, the Genslers of the world do luxury residential, but it's a small part of their portfolio. So because of that, if I only focus, say, in the Midwest, it'd be a little smaller. I need to kind of, and there's only so many markets where luxury architecture is really thriving, obviously. People have homes and second homes.
But were they willing to move though? Then are they willing to pick up and move to?
No, so I'm filling a role for a phenomenal design, architecture, and building firm combined in Orlando, Florida, and I will look for someone local, my first choice. And because I do events all over the United States, I know people, and then my people know people. You know how it is,
right? And you've been in that industry for so long, you probably know a lot of people.
Yeah, I
try. Do you ever look? I know we would look on LinkedIn. We would look on LinkedIn a lot. Do you ever do that? Do you have like resources that you use, or do you just go by word of mouth?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first thing I do is learn about the company, and I try to be. If you were the commercial construction company I was recruiting for a residential, I would learn about you and the role, and it would take 15, 20 minutes. I've been doing this long enough that intake's not that hard, but it's important to know the culture and who that person's going to be working with, etc. And then I step in your shoes. So it's very personal. So I'll go and I have a whole database of people, and I also use a separate recruiting project management tool called Luxo. And then I of course use LinkedIn and other things. I have a LinkedIn group that I started in 2006 called Luxury Home Builders Network. We have 15,000 members. And so just that group is from all over the world. So again, my whole life is relationships, is, helping people. And so sometimes it gets to be that I get to place people, and sometimes it's I'm just helping someone be a speaker and being seen as a leader in a certain market, or I'm putting an expert panel together, or I'm working with Aspire Media right now nationally. I'm working with Custom Builder Magazine nationally to help tie all the pieces together.
Ah, awesome. Yeah, my company, we just put an ad in Custom Builder Magazine.
You did?
I do marketing for a bank. And we just put an ad in there because we do their mortgages, some of their mortgages locally. So
So for that, and you and I should connect afterwards if I can help your bank get more notoriety with my sphere of custom builders.
Yeah.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah. Yes, that's what it's about. Just meeting other people and helping them, which helps you, which then they help you. And it works
Karma.
really well when you're wanting to help people instead of feeling like you have to help people. When it comes natural, I feel like when it feels like, hey, I know this person, and you're not really always out for yourself. You're just like, hey, I know this person. I know this person. You guys should meet. I love doing that too. I think that's why I did like the recruiting. It was all commission based. Well, I had a base, but it was mostly commission based. And, when you're just starting out, I wasn't willing to put the time in years of working it until I would start making the money I wanted to make. So, but I loved it.
If you like it, really, Kelly, I'm not seriously. I'm a retained recruiter, so I don't even do a recruiting unless I'm paid up front, and then there's a guarantee that we're working as a team. I'm not competing against the employer, as opposed to contingency recruiting. And again, only if that industry, obviously, if they're flooded, it's harder to get people to do the retained. But I only do the retained. And again, I don't have to have. I'm not greedy. I'm not looking to have hundreds of placements. I want to get to know people, and I want to be able to say that house is being built by someone that I put in that company. Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing that was exciting for me getting, delving into that world. I started paying attention to buildings. I started noticing the architecture because we had architects and I forget that, all the executives. And I just started paying more attention to the way things were built. And it's just a different world. I mean, you start paying attention to details that you wouldn't normally pay attention to.
Right. And it's such a beautiful world, right?
Well, the luxury designs are really fascinating. I love to just get online and look at, beautiful houses, get on Zillow or something and look at these, $500 million homes, castles, and the old architecture. Yeah.
We do hard hat project tours. Again, it's professionals, but we've been for a long time now, health and wellness design. And so it's just, it's really, I always tell my audience when I start a conference and I do the opening that, we're blessed. We're blessed to be working in a world where, we're surrounded by beauty. And not only that, people are putting their heart and soul into whatever you're doing. Not that they don't in commercial, because I have a fabulous interior design firm that does a lot of hospitality, and they put their heart and soul into it just as if it were someone's home. But it is a beautiful world.
Yeah, it is. And then you mentioned you were incorporating spiritual growth into what you're doing. How does that work? What are you doing with that?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, we all go through growth cycles. And so losing my father at a very young age and kind of taking, jumping out and really being responsible I didn't want to put my mom into any more stress than she had. And so I always believed that there's something more. And right when I was having children, I started reading about past life regression and spirituality. And I actually did a bunch of, sessions and whatnot. And then of course, life goes on and you get focused on being, a professional, and between that and all the things you do to raise a family, sometimes that takes a back seat. And now that I'm in that opportunity to do that again, I started reading and learning, and I'm going on a Mediterranean cruise with this incredible spiritual leader. Her name is Suzanne Giesman, and I've been following her. And so it's a Mediterranean. My husband and I are going on a Mediterranean cruise in September, and there's 14 hours of programming, and she's a medium. But I don't necessarily want to be a medium to make money. I just want to learn and share and guide other people to what I've learned, which is there is way more to this life. We are souls having a human experience.
Yep.
And you probably being your podcast, I saw all those awesome mediums and psychic people. You guys are tell us about it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, there's more that we haven't explored. And then I'm always fascinated with, ancient history, because you think, when they find these ancient ruins and they seem so advanced, and you think, what was life like then? Have we progressed or have we regressed? I mean, where are we in that map of evolution or whatever? And I do feel like we're not as evolved as we could be and should be, and we have to push each other and we've just become such a superficial society that the superficial trappings tend to keep you, they hold you back from exploring what's really important and what really matters, and the spiritual side of life. Even, in the religious circles, I don't feel like people are living their religion really. It's more of a cultural cool thing to say, I'm religious, when they're not really understanding what it means and not honoring their religion.
Yes. So for me, it started with meditation, following, and one of the things that I've learned is, Suzanne Giesman said from the very beginning, don't just listen to me, educate yourself. There's so much free information. So I listen to a lot of different things, especially when I'm walking in nature. And meditation is just getting my mindset to be in this place of peace and to forget. And they use this term, a lot of these more enlightened people and more wise people say that we're a story, and I believe Wendy Cohen is so important, or my life is so important. I wake up and all the little details, that's just a story. It's just a costume. So that's where I learned that. And then all of a sudden I talked to a cousin of mine, and he said, did you know great aunt Rhoda in the 1950s wrote a book called You Are Unlimited? And I didn't even know that. So I went on Amazon and I found it. And here's great aunt Rhoda in the 1950s.
Oh, and this is your great aunt?
My great aunt.
Oh, so it's in your blood.
I know. So wow. So I'm fortunate that my children are open-minded and they're letting me express to a limit, because, I have 3 adult children, and actually I'm my son-in-law 4 and my stepdaughter 5. And they're not, Mom, this is airy fairy, don't bring this here. They're listening to me with a little bit of a, but I truly believe if you aren't doing meditation, and I've been doing it now for a long time now, since I've been returning to that, and it's so impactful. And if I could get anyone who's listening to this podcast, certainly do your own research, but just try it every day. There's one podcast that's called The Sip of the Divine, 3 minutes a day. If you can learn to do it 3 minutes a day with Suzanne Giesman, it'll change your life. And, it's just, you don't have to get deeper than that. Just start with the meditation.
Well, we're training our brains. Our brains have been programmed since we were born, and we didn't have control of the programming as a child. We're just being fed indoctrination, or whatever you call it. Right. But what I've learned is, prayer, I liken it to positive affirmation. And they say prayer is when you're speaking to God, your higher power, and meditation is when God is speaking to you. And so you're clearing your mind so that you can hear, so you can receive the message, instead of sending out the message. And I feel like prayer, affirmation, whatever it is that you want to call it, it's very powerful, and you're sending the messages, the vibes out into the world to set things up. I used to I've gotten lazy about it, but I used to, when I fell asleep at night, I said my prayers. And the first thing was gratitude. Thank you for everything that I have and everything that's good in my life. And then the next was praying for people I care about and that I love. And please bless this person and this person, and this person. And then if I was still awake, because it was a really good way to fall asleep too, to get yourself to fall asleep, then I imagined the things I was working on or wanted, that there were little fairies that were going to go off while I was sleeping. I'm going to, ask for what I want. And then the little fairies are going to go out into the world and set things up for me. So that, and I would actually be so excited every morning to wake up, because they were setting things up for me to happen so that I would get the phone call or get the answer I wanted, or, be able to get the energy to do something that I had or whatever. And it really, it was a really good discipline to get in that habit in every way, because there's, it was just all positive, everything about it.
So Kelly, just so you know, you're very spiritual, and you might not have coined yourself that, but that's how easy it is. And so you're doing it already.
Yeah.
So, and you can take it to the next level if you want, and ask for whatever it is that an answer to any question. Should I take this job, or should I interview this person?
Oh, yeah. I pray for clarity a lot of times. I feel like I manifested my house. I bought a house a couple years ago, and I literally would fall asleep. There were, it was during the bidding wars. It was right when the rates started going up and everybody was bidding. And I lost a couple of my houses that I had wanted. And so I laid in bed at night and I just imagined my car pulling into the garage. I imagined walking up the stairs. I imagined where I was going to put things. And, maybe that's not really true. Maybe that's not why I got it. I had a really good real estate agent, and that's really why I got it.
Well,
and she did her work. She really did. And then I gave a high bid. So I got it that way. But also I do feel like I was at that point, I was like, I got to get this one or not. This is it. Cause the rates are just going up too much and I'm going to have to wait. And so, sometimes it's us making things happen. Sometimes it's us just wanting things to happen and they fall in place and being ready for them when they do happen. But I read a lot of books in my youth, I remember a friend of mine, she's a spiritual advisor, and she gave me this book called Living in the Light. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's Living in the Light by Shakti Gawain. And I kept starting to read it, and I get through like the first page and I'd be like, this is just boring. Like, I'm not going to read this book. And I'd put it back, but she was such a dear friend. So like every couple of years, I'd be like, all right, let me see if I can read this book because it's sitting on my shelf. Let me read it. And it was so boring over and over and over. And then one day I read it from cover to cover. I couldn't put it down.
See,
I was ready.
Yeah.
I was just ready for the message, ready to digest it. And I could understand it better. And then I remember another book that had a great impact. I'm just sharing with you. I don't know if you are familiar with these books or want to read them.
I love it.
The Celestine Prophecy. And I read it so long ago. I don't really remember all of it, but I remember it had an impact because it was explaining there were things beyond us, beyond what we can comprehend and see and feel and touch. And then the other one was Three Magic Words. I don't know if you've ever heard USS Anderson. Three Magic Words. And that was another really good. I met a guy at this party. It was at this mansion in Hollywood, up in the Hollywood Hills, the Bel Air. And I met this guy at this party and we just started talking. He goes, I'm going to tell you, I think you would really appreciate this book called Three Magic Words. He goes, Martha Stewart turned me on to it. And so I was like, it was just weird. Like, why would this guy tell me to read this book? And I got the book and I've read it over and over. I love it. It's a great book. I should probably read it again recently. But yeah, it's a journey. I mean, there's so much more than we understand, than we can even comprehend. Our little pea brains can't comprehend all of the knowledge of the world, the vastness.
Exactly. Yeah. And all you're describing are synchronicities. So, and they keep happening and happening and happening. And so you said, oh, well, it might have been that really great real estate agent, but who connected you to that real estate agent? And who told you? So that they put in we get messages put into our consciousness, and it's about this shared consciousness. It is truly enlightening. And we were watching a recent documentary, and I love all those books that you mentioned. There's other ones as well that I highly recommend. But one of the things I'll say before I tell you about this documentary is when I'm ready to place. Usually we place our candidates really quickly for these roles. I'm like, I just meet them, but like it happens, like it's a connection. It just happens. And I'm like, how is it that I met this person,
Yeah.
not on LinkedIn, and I do a happy dance. I say to my sphere of influence, my peers, that I get to do a happy dance every time I place someone. And that is that whole thing all coming together. But we were watching this one documentary just recently, and they were saying that when the Wright brothers were trying to obviously discover airplane flight, right? And everyone was a no sayer, and oh, it can't happen. And there was in the 1930s, and they had their first flight for 14 minutes, and then the next day they couldn't replicate it. And then of course, then they show a supersonic jet today, which I just got off an airplane, so I'm like, yeah, I was on one of those planes. So what was not even, people didn't even believe it could happen,
Right. Not
to
even.
it's part of our everyday life. So what they're saying is this whole understanding of spirituality, and that we are truly souls having a human experience, that in maybe how many years, we don't know, maybe 50 or 100 years, people are going to go, of course, yeah, that's just that's the normal thing. And won't it be interesting when that generation says, can you believe they didn't believe it back then?
I've started thinking that, well, we are creating our reality, because sometimes, how there's a movie 30, 40, 50 years ago that
Yes.
seems so fantastic and out of this world, and we would never dream that it would happen. And then now it's happening. I
The
do. And
Matrix.
I've gone back and forth. I'm like, are we copying reality, or are we creating reality? And I think it's more we're creating it with our thoughts. And that's why I think there needs to be more study of our thoughts. We have to have more control, not control of them, but more consciousness, be consciously aware of where we're placing our thoughts. And I have to remind myself of this too, because you get in the rut, and you complain, and you wish things were different, and instead of imagining the way you wish things were, instead of how they are, and complaining about them.
Yeah, I've been taught that when things like that happen, you step back and you become the observer, and you say, isn't that interesting? Really hard to do when you're not enlightened, or you're not realizing that there's more than that. So there's another professor at I think it's the University of Arizona, Dr. Gary Schwartz, and he is working on the soul phone, where we'll all be able to, just like we are today, to communicate across the veil with a phone. And it's so interesting because my very dear first cousin, Kevin Mitnick, I don't know if you know of him. He was a very well-known hacker. He was the one that they wrote the movies about. And so he passed away just 1 year ago from pancreatic cancer. This is actually his business card. It's the coolest card ever. So I thought I'd share it.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Yeah, is that cool?
Oh, yeah.
But Kevin was here at our house for Thanksgiving, and he had my children, like they were like listening to him, and every word, they were hanging on to every word. And he would say to my son, by the way, your mom is calling you on your phone. I just set it up that. And he's like, what? And by the way, your password, Tamarin 2, don't use that. My son is like, oh my God. But so I am trying to connect up through my connections, Kevin, to make sure he talks to Gary Schwartz to make the soul phone thing happen, because hacking started with cell phones, with the telephone system, even landlines in those days. So yeah, so there's so many interconnected things.
Yeah.
It's like you said earlier, Kelly, living every day with an attitude of gratitude, just, always being open-minded, knowing that, your net worth is really your network, the people you know and the people you love and you cherish. When we all go one day, it's not how many hours I worked and how much money's in my bank account. It's what impact did I make in my lifetime. And so I'd love to help anyone who's interested and wants a career, or even just, I've often talked to, some of the kids that are just graduating, what do I do? I want to do this. And a lot of them don't want to hear it, but you need to do an internship. And you could get paid, but you need to get that experience. But so I try to tie in my very left brain professional world. And if a lot of my builders, architects, and designers were on this call, or landscape architects, they'd be like, what is she saying? But I'd like to connect them full circle. And so I do tie in a little bit of that at my luxury conferences and all the events that we have. And I'm just honored to be able to meet the two of you. And I love, Kellie, that you are already there. You're just,
Well, it's just a journey, and we have to, I don't know. I just think everybody's on their own individual journey. And as collectively, hopefully we're evolving and becoming more open-minded. But I do feel like a little bit our culture is stuck because of the superficiality of our culture, just making everything, about things instead of about people.
so what you can do and what I can do, and obviously what both of you can do with your beautiful podcast here, is just every time you get an audience, I mean, just if you just give them one golden nugget of, you are more than, the anger that you have today, or the story, or, your job, or and I know it's hard. People are often dealing with hurt, healing, they lost someone, or, they're struggling, but if they could just get past that, and if we could get more of the humanity to understand that this is reality, it will enlighten the entire world. And I know there, all what's going on today in the Middle East, I mean, there's a lot of scary things, but we have to slowly embrace other people and tell them what, and bring them into the same fold. And your concern will
try to create reality, the reality that we want, which is a loving, supportive community for all of us, where everybody feels accepted, everybody feels important, everybody feels loved. There's no, nobody's above or below, or jealousies or resentments, that we're all
it's all
equal.
about love.
Yeah.
And so the definition of life is love in full expression. And when all is said and done, it's all about love. And that's that interconnect. I talked about the matrix, and I saw you, Gary. I saw you get smile, right?
Yep.
Jon. Yeah. So
I got to tell you, normally I'm a lot more vocal. I'm usually, I have a lot to ask or a lot to say. I throw stuff in, but you two seem to be on the same wavelength here tonight. And I just figured, let me sit back, because they're talking a lot about things I have either no or very little knowledge of. So I'm just happy to be here.
yeah, but Jon, behind you, I see a peace sign, and I see a sign that says love. So you're not.
Actually, the top one says all you need is love, and then the one underneath it is love is all you need.
Yeah.
And
I think probably, Jon, without knowing it, you've done a lot of manifestation in your own life, because you've had such an interesting, he's done so much, and he's had this really interesting, fascinating life. He's an author of 7 books, 7?
Well, 6 published, the 7th will get finished eventually.
Coming.
Wow.
And so, sometimes we can't put it into words, but we're living it. We are living it. We just don't understand that we're living it. And you can tell when people are not, when people are lost and they're chasing something that doesn't matter. They're holding on to resentments that they don't know how to shake. They don't know how to, because all of us, we hurt each other. And the more, and I know, I've gone through my own metaphors, metaphormosis, is that what it is? Where, I've had to heal myself.
Yes.
From things that happen.
Metamorphosis. Yeah.
I know that I've caused damage because I was damaged with other people. So I always say damaged people cause damage to other people. So our job is to heal ourselves and help each other heal. And I think a lot of times we do it naturally, and we don't understand that we've done it, because, we want to feel good. We want to feel happy and healthy. And then other people get stuck and they turn to drugs or alcohol or anger, just hold on to anger. So I do feel like we need to talk about it more and share it more and encourage people to do more deeper shadow work. They say shadow work. They call it shadow work or
Yeah, or just educate themselves. And then really the best thing we can do for people is to get them to experience it themselves. So, Jon, you probably don't even realize how close you are to being very enlightened. And, you're obviously an established, author. And so you're well read. And I'm sure if you just a little bit of a kind of reawakening to some of these concepts, you'll go, I do that. I do this.
he's
I
very
believe
loved.
this.
Like so many people just love him and adore him. He is love. He gives a lot of love. And I'm not saying I don't know about your dark side, Jon, if you have one, but I from what I know of Jon, he is always happy. He is always up. He's always giving love. He tries to help people. So I think it's been a natural thing for you that you maybe didn't have to search. Like I had to search for it because I had been damaged in childhood. Just
Well, everyone is
things.
hurt. I mean, I
Yeah.
know I don't mean to say that some more than
No, it's true.
others, but
It's true.
it's like you said earlier, we're programmed, and we're programmed both by our families and our educators, when we're
Yeah.
children, and all of us are. And so it's learning that we're more than that, and that we're not alone, and that we're very loved. But even if it was just that, you didn't feel loved because your parents were busy working, or what, or it could be worse, that somebody was taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
But we've all been damaged, and we all need to forgive ourselves, and to remember, that we're not alone, and help each other.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I've been doing recently is a friend of mine just had a stroke, and Evie Sullivan, who was your first podcast interview.
Yes, that's right.
She's a hypnotherapist. Hypnotherapist. So she's,
Hypnotherapist, right.
yes, thank you. So she and I and my friend who just had the stroke, we have every morning 15 minutes. Everybody can take, we do a quick Zoom, and there's a meditation. And it's just the power of the three of us. We're all in different cities, and we just do it at the same time. And we've been doing it now for over a month. It takes 21 days to create a habit. We're creating new neural pathways, and we're helping each other. So right after I'll say, okay, quickly, what'd you get out of that, Neil? Evie, what'd you get out of that? This is what I got out. Okay, love you. See you tomorrow. Bye. And
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
It's showing support for each other.
Exactly.
I felt, though I had, life happens and challenges as a child. I had illness and some other things. But what I did, the thing that I think helped me rise above all of it is I had two parents that loved me so much. They just loved me to pieces. And then I always remember my mother saying, "Oh, I think you can do anything." And in my mind, I've just always, I've never thought, "Oh, I can't do that." You're programming your kids.
Right.
And you've got to program them to believe in themselves and to know that they're loved. I don't think there's any greater gift you can give them. I don't care if they have every toy. I have dogs. And so I always, I took a video of them the other day. They're fighting over a plastic bottle. They have about 80 toys, like nice dog toys, like nice toys. And they're fighting over a plastic bottle that I gave them. And I took a video of it and sent it to my mother and my sister. And I'm like, this is what they want, because, really what they want is me interacting with them and playing with them. They're trying to get my attention, and they're fighting. And, we want attention. We want love. We want somebody to love us. I think that's really the ultimate thing.
Well, I invite both of you to come I know we're all across the country today, but I have conferences on the East Coast and the Midwest and here in Southern California. I know we're not in the same city now, but if you're, you just go to my website and look at all the different events we have, be my personal guest, of course. We have great industry events, and I always tie in that attitude of gratitude. And so when you come to something that I'm conducting, it's a different way of building relationships. It's not like, oh, you go networking and you sit with your corner clutch people and you drink cocktails. This is no. I'm walking around saying, who do you need to meet? Let me take you over here. They're working on a project that they could use your talents. Or even just, oh, I'm so sorry you lost your, brother or sister. And it's, or this person just had a triple bypass and we're all standing together. We give a cheers to each other. So it's about building relationships, even though they're business, that really help people grow personally and professionally. So I want to meet you both, because I know Jon's
I would love
spiritual.
that. Yeah,
I know
I
you
would
are.
love that. Yeah.
Okay, well, great. Well, look at it, and I'm so happy that you guys are sharing.
Do you
I listened to.
when do you have something on the East Coast, which is obviously where I
Well,
am?
are you only in New York, or are you? Where are
I'm
you?
right outside of New York City.
Yeah. So I'm talking to Aspire Magazine right now. They do a ton of show houses in New York, maybe in New Jersey or New York. So I don't have anything right now. I'm in Naples. So that's southeast. But hey, listen, Naples, Florida is a wonderful place to go visit. So next
Yeah,
February.
except right now when they're about to have another hurricane, which
I know.
is a shame,
Please, please,
But
God let them pass over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so on February 5th, Walter E. Smith is hosting us. It'll be 150 to 200 luxury industry professionals who come together to grow together. It's a full day. Jen Air's our national sponsor. There'll be speakers, there'll be relationship building. So it's a great place to be in February if you're used to being in New York. If you're let's see, Midwest, we do stuff in Chicago's always fun if it's not, January or February.
right.
So coming or we do stuff at IBS and KBIS, which is the International Builders Show, and Kitchen and Bath Show. It's usually either in Vegas or Florida. And then Santa Monica, California, we're doing West Edge Design Fair this year. So, I mean, we do stuff everywhere. So sorry to say, New York, I don't have anything immediately, but I have your email and I know where to find you.
Absolutely.
So we'll
Okay.
stay in close contact. Same thing
That's
with
fine.
you,
That'd be
Kelly.
great. Yes. And we can,
Yes.
as we say to a lot of our guests, anything that comes up, anything that you want to talk about, that is exciting, that's a change for you or something new. We'd love to have you back on the show just to talk about it, not for our benefit as much as for the audience.
Yes.
Our whole thing is to educate, inform, and entertain.
Yes. Okay, good. Well, I definitely have some very entertaining stories that I can share in the next time. And if not, I have some great people. We try to tie all that together because you know what? What did we say, right? This is the one life we're going to have it as this story in this costume. We're going to make the most out of it. And it's about your relationships and having fun together and making a difference, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, really nice conversation, Wendy. And it went in places I didn't expect because I thought real estate.
Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
thank you
that
for
was just a tiny
yeah,
part of
yeah.
Yeah.
this.
So
It's
yeah.
fun.
Well,
It's
thank
a
you for
fun
sharing
industry.
all of it in your spiritual journey and everything you're doing. So
Well, thank you. And I'm here to help in any way I can. And if we can spread that word and help other people grow, that's what we're all about. And go to my website and I'm going to meet you guys.
okay.
You're stuck
Well,
with
we're
me.
going to manifest it. I'm going to make it
Oh
happen.
my. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
so
right. Well,
much,
thank you,
Wendy. It
Wendy.
was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Have a great
Take
rest
care.
of the weekend.
You
Beautiful.
too.
Namaste.
Ciao.
Namaste.
All views expressed in this video belong to Kelly Nicholson, John D'Amore, and guests. These discussions do not represent the opinions of any entity whatsoever with which they have been affiliated now or will be in the future. The opinions expressed are solely theirs, and since they are critically thinking human beings, these views are subject to change, subject to revision, and subject to rethinking at any time. These conversations are not meant to be taken as advice and are only for the purpose of entertainment. All statements may be based on hearsay and not necessarily valid proof of any claims in this video. It is not our intention to teach or advise on any topic. Unless otherwise noted, all photos are public domain.
Thanks for watching A Slice of Life with Kelly and John.